Okay, today we're going to do another VFR front wheel. This is going to be a 2002 6th generation VFR800. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a hex head socket and we're just going to remove these two screws that hold your linked brake on the left hand side of the bike. So once we get these two bolts out of the caliper, we'll be able to pull that caliper off and hang it out of the way.
Few hundred miles. They made good on it. It just sucks that you're going on a trip and he doesn't have that issue anymore though. Now he's here. Whenever he schedules service around his vacation. He was last time he was here. He left his 900 SS here. He's got a Ducati 900 SS.
While we're here, go ahead and break loose the cinch bolt that holds your front axle into place. And then we're going to switch sides, and with our 12mm wrench we're going to remove the caliper bolts on the right hand side of the bike.
And I asked him, I said, well, what's wrong? And he goes, man, for new tires, they just don't feel right. It's a lot of vibration. My hands are going numb. And I said, well, let's see what's going on. I pulled his wheels off. They weren't even balanced. The guy, whoever.
Once you get that last bolt out of the caliper, watch how I move my hand. And what I'm doing is actually prying the brake pads apart, and it makes it a lot easier to slide that caliper off of the front disc. So now we're going to break free the right side cinch bolt. And what I normally do is take a number 2 Phillips and I put it through the hole of the axle on the left hand side of the bolt, and then I have my 22mm wrench for the axle bolt itself, and I just break the axle bolt free. And then once I get this axle bolt out, I'll take my Phillips screwdriver that goes through that hole that's in the opposite side of the axle, and I'll use it to just kind of wiggle that axle out of the wheel. So that's what you see my right hand doing right now. Now once you get your wheel off, go ahead and pull your spacers out. Put the right side on the right side of the bike and left side on the left side of the bike. Makes it easier to remember where they go when you put the bike back together. So I put my spacers back in. I did put a light coat of grease on the spacers, and now I'm applying a light coat of grease on the axle shaft itself. If you grease your axle well, it'll make it come out a lot smoother the next time you take the front end of your bike apart. So we lift the wheel up into place, and once we get it lined up, then we're going to run our axle through. With our axle in place, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our axle bolt back into the axle, and that'll kind of straighten everything up and make sure everything's in alignment. And we tighten down our axle nut, our axle bolt. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to tighten down our cinch bolt on the fork. Get that snugged up. And be sure to use a torque wrench. If if you've never done this on your bike before, a torque wrench is your friend. By the time you do this about 20, maybe 3 times, you'll have a clue how much to tighten down your bolts. They don't need to be super tight. You don't need to be breaking bolts off into the calipers and into the forks. You just get it tight, and then give it a little. And do check your manual for the torque specifications. And like I said, after you've done it a few times, you'll get the hang of it. So our caliper's back on. We're tightening down the bolts now into the caliper. And so with that, we're right at, we've got the right side completely done. And now we're going to bounce over to the left side of the bike and finish that up. So over here on the left side, we're going to go ahead and we're going to tighten down our left cinch bolt on the front fork. And what I'm doing is the little pivot point for your linked braking, there's a little spacer that runs on a bearing in the fork. So what I did was I put some new grease on that bearing, and I put a light coat of grease on the little pivot point. And then I take the caliper, slide it over the brake disc, and slide it into place. And I apologize for the camera position. I just wasn't thinking, but you get the gist of it. We just line everything up, and then we put our caliper bolts into place and tighten them down. So with our hex head socket, we're going to go ahead and we're going to tighten down the pivot point for the linked braking, and then we're going to tighten up the top. This pretty much completes the replacement of a front wheel. We put a new Michelin tire on this and got rid of that crappy Pirelli Diablo that was on it. And once you do all this, it's very important to pump the front brake lever. Like I said, very important. You don't want your friends to leave your house with the no brakes. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.